Welcome back. All right, so this is one of those videos where it's just me, just talking, just chatting, not necessarily getting into anything really specific hockey related. But it's one of those videos that I feel like every now and then, yeah, no, I need to put that out there. When the channel was starting up, I did it a lot. I don't do it nearly as much now as I used to. So I get asked a lot in live streams about which arenas I visited, and it's a small list. Rexall, which is the former arena for the Oilers, which I did not see a hockey game there. I went to Edmonton for a Rammstein concert. No regrets. It was a 17-hour bus trip there. I think it was an 18-hour bus trip back. No regrets. Absolutely worth every minute. Then, of course, Rogers in Vancouver. I've seen numerous Canucks games there, and I'll talk about that in a moment. I love Rogers. I don't think it gets enough love when they talk about good arenas and all that in the NHL, but that might be me talking. T-Mobile in Vegas, we've been there. Witnessed a couple of games there some years back, which was enjoyable. I honestly, I'd love to go to Vegas during the season and watch games, but again, with my schedule being as it is, it doesn't really work. And there, of course, is the fact that we do have kids. Honda Center. So Honda Center in Anaheim, we witnessed a game there against Arizona back in 2020, January of 2020, and yeah, it was an enjoyable arena. It's a big arena, like it feels like it's a throwback. So the arenas they have now, I think, are. I mean, I don't want to say better. Better's the wrong way of putting it, but it feels like it's not as modern as the current arenas, for lack of a better way of putting it. And so I did enjoy it though, and I'm looking forward to going next week. We're going to be at Honda Center on the 16th, and we're supposed to get a bit of a tour and whatnot. So I'm really looking forward to that. I think that'll be great. So in terms of seeing games live, I went from 1981 to 2017 without seeing a game live. My dad took me to a game between Montreal and Vancouver in 1981. Guy Lafleur didn't play that night. Montreal still won because Vancouver it was Vancouver and Montreal was Montreal. Denny Herron was quite good that night, and yeah, I believe it was Glenn Hanlon playing for the Canucks that night, which made me an instant Glenn Hanlon fan. I was not swayed by the fact that he allowed 4 goals. I think that was all in the first too. Anyways, as yeah, it is an interesting thing looking back that far and real. Anyways, but yeah, so between 81 and 2017, there wasn't really money. So it was a matter of, first, as I was being raised, my family didn't have the money, and then I didn't have a job where we could, say, oh, let's go to a bunch of Canucks games. So I would go to games. I went to the occasional game in Chilliwack. And I saw Chilliwack Chiefs games. I saw a couple Chilliwack Bruins games. But in terms of a National Hockey League game, it wasn't until Yvonne and I were engaged that I went to a Canucks game against Boston. Now, in terms of my own acumen when it comes to sports, I did play a lot of street hockey and floor hockey growing up, and I was pretty dirty player. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to apologize right now to anybody I played floor hockey or street hockey with, but I was a shot blocker. I blocked everything. I very often was left bloodied and everything. It was just it. But when I play now, I'm not doing that. Obviously, when we have these street hockey meetups, it's more of a casual thing than when I was playing when I was a teenager, where I was far more competitive and far more like, yeah, you're not getting a goal. I don't know what you think you're doing, but you're not even getting to the net, much less getting a goal. Which is kind of the mentality I had, and so I would do whatever. So if it was a slash, it was a slash. If it was a hook, it was a hook. If a guy tripped over my stick, he tripped over my stick. Yeah. Doing the Sandstrom video before this just feels right. I played a lot of soccer. The funny thing is, I think I actually played more soccer growing up than I did playing hockey, and I think I was probably a better soccer player than I was street hockey or floor hockey. And before anybody asks, the ice hockey, it's the same as the traveling. Family did not have the money. We had the meetup on Sunday, and I heard there was one conversation I overheard where somebody said, "Yeah, I can't do ice hockey. We can't afford the registration and all the equipment and everything." Yep, that is absolutely an issue. It's still an issue, and I feel bad for people who go through that, because it's a lot of fun. It's a great sport, but it is an expensive sport. It's very, very pricey. I also like playing tennis. I loved playing tennis, actually. I don't know if I was good at it. I don't think I was great at it, but I really enjoyed it. I did enjoyed it because there were different shots for different scenarios, and I practiced my drop shot a lot. I was a huge fan of the drop shot. That was one of my, because it's deception, right? And if you hit it right, the ball will bounce and then bounce away from your opponent. So if you get that ball to go the right, it'll bounce away from them. And I got pretty decent at that. Serving, I was terrible at serving, but once we got into a rally, I was able to hold my own. I did try cross country running. I was always a jogger, always long distance runner. It's why I do the treadmill as often as I do, because I enjoy long distance running. I always did. I know that as I've gotten older, there's kind of been this thing that's taken over. So back in, I want to say my early 30s, I was like, well, I can do the same route that I did in junior high. I can do, well, it's just middle school. And so I was like, yeah, I can do that. And so I started it, and I was like, this is a long run. I have a long way to go. Is it starting to rain? You know what? Nah. And so I didn't end up didn't end up running. I didn't end up getting myself in shape. And so that's something that's been a challenge. So at least with the treadmill, I've been able to stick to it for the last, I want to say 4 years. I've been doing that now. It's important. It's one reason why when we do the street hockey games, I don't get blown up and I don't end up really, really exhausted. That initial first shift is tough, but after that, I'm okay, and it's not a big deal. It's about pacing yourself, right? One thing that I get asked too is about, well, what about broadcasting? Did you want a career in that? Well, obviously. There was a religious summer camp that I worked at, and I actually ended up being the radio DJ. The funny thing is, I don't know that anybody else on staff wanted to do it. So when they were like, we've got this radio class who wants to DJ, I was like, I'll do it. And yeah, I don't think anybody else necessarily wanted to. It was one of the most fun things I ever did. It was on cassette, so I would put together a show. It was like an hour. It was a daily show, and so I would record it, and then it would broadcast at, I want to say 3 o'clock. We had a set time of day where it would broadcast, and I tried to make sure it wasn't the same boring Christian contemporary music that was always playing, because that was always a complaint that I heard from kids, like, is it going to be more Michael W. Smith? And I'm like, okay, there might be some, like, I won't say there's no Michael W. Smith, but it's not just going to be that. So I'd sneak in a song or two that, it has a good message. Yeah, no, I can play that. Which is, anyways, that's a whole other discussion for all other time. But yeah, I enjoyed that, and I enjoyed being on the radio, and I enjoyed, but it again came down to, at the time that I was graduating high school and looking at it, I was told it's a dying industry. It's not going to make it. You're not going to end up being, unless you want to go, and I think the place that the local DJ told me, he said, unless you want to go to Fort St. John and work graveyards, because he said that's kind of what you're looking at is going graveyards to the middle of nowhere, and he said you're not going to get paid very well. The classes are probably going to be expensive. You might need to do a loan. You might not be able to pay it back. Like I basically got told it is not easy. And then the kick in the pants was when he said, and you have to be kind of cutthroat. If you want to get ahead in this industry, you have to be kind of cutthroat. And I thought, I can't be cutthroat. So that ended up kind of falling apart, but I always liked DJing. So, when guys, I'm talking to people my age on this or in my age range, when guys would make mixtapes for girls that they liked, right? Now, I would DJ a tape, because mixtapes, anybody can just throw together music, but I would DJ it, and I would set it up and go, all right, I'm going to play this song for you, and I'd tell them why, and I'd tell them the story behind the song and why I was playing it at all. And then, and then I'd let it roll. So that was something I always knew I wanted to do. And I've talked about this before, but when I played with my hockey cards as a little kid, I would actually commentate the game. I would actually, shot in a goal, and I would do that, because what fun is it if you don't? Now I get asked a lot about the fantasy hockey side of things too. And then when I talk about point production, what I think somebody's going to do, I've seen people say, well, isn't that gambling? Not with me. I know with other people it is. With me, it's not. So we're into August. It's that time of year. And so every year I would get the yearbooks. So I went through my extensive library and grabbed one of each. First off, they don't publish this one anymore in print, which is McKean's Hockey. But I had this one from last year. McKean's Hockey, like online, they still do the digital. So in here, it predicts what everybody's point totals were going to be. So I would get this and I'd look and go, okay, so it's saying Kozlov, 56 points. He had, 52 the last full season. The thing with this is the year after the lockout. So I was really diving into the stats then. I'm like, okay, it's been a year since there's any hockey. We'll see how guys have developed. And I would go through every single player. I'd go through all of them, and I'd go through all the prospects too. Because what always interested me was that some publications would say this prospect going to be a top 4 defenseman, going to be really good. And then I'd read a profile from another book, and it would say, yeah, he's fringe. He might end up being in the NHL. He might not. So McKean's was one that I liked a lot, and I used them for my draft videos earlier in the summer. The Hockey News, a go-to. The Hockey News is still published. It still ends up on the market. It is nowhere near as in-depth as it used to be. It really isn't. It doesn't give, but I understand why. So this one is, the number of pages are, okay, it's about 200 pages. Well, it's going to cost you some money to print this out. And then a lot of the information in here is really easily, readily available online now. So while I enjoy having the physical, I mean, look at that, Mike Modano. It's absolutely gorgeous, right? That jersey's fantastic. Although I've seen some comments on my taste in jerseys, and it's fine. It's just like, my redrafts. I know how the redrafts are going to go. Not only that, I even know which player people are going to get mad at me about, where I'm like, oh, people aren't going to be happy about where I put this guy, but I give my honest opinion, and it's one man's opinion. So there's Hasek there, of course, with Buffalo, before they changed over to the black and red and white jerseys. So that's 95, 96. Pierre Turgeon on the front there. Also, this was my favorite, and I subscribed to the Sports Forecaster. They still have good news on their website, and I promise none of this, this is all free. None of these people have ever commented, hey, can you comment about us? No, I've never. So here you see Vancouver's future captain, Bo Horvat. So there's no captaincy on here. And yeah, he would end up being captain. And then what happened there? Anyways, so in the Sports Forecaster, what I liked with it was it had more in-depth predictions. I like predictions. I love predictions. I would actually make my own predictions before I had a channel. So I would see the predictions in Sports Forecaster. I would see the predictions in the Ultimate Fantasy Guide. So I loved looking on the magazine rack and seeing this, because that meant hockey season was coming. That meant, okay, it's summer. Summer, it's great. Summer, yeah. No, I love summer, yeah. Splashing in pools, and it's great. Sunburns, and I love them. But when's hockey season? So as soon as I saw this, I knew hockey season was coming. Now, this book here is from 08-09, and they don't give as much depth when it comes to the stats now as they used to. And again, I suspect it's to keep production costs down for it, because then you're adding weight to it, and because it's all available online. So I know at some point in time, all of these forms of publishing are all just going to be online, and I will be seen as, I'm already seen as a relic. I'll become a fossil officially. But like, here's Bergeron. A concussion forced Bergeron to miss almost all of last season. He was ready to play at the end, so look for him to pick up the numbers where he left off. And it predicts 72 points in 78 games for Bergeron, after he only had 7 points in 10 games the year before. And ends up being pretty accurate. So it's always interesting, and it's always interesting to see, like, here's Patrick Berglund, 20 years of age. They predicted 28 points for him in his debut with the Blues. And I found that between all of those magazines that I would get some idea for who was where, and so I wouldn't be too surprised when rookies were showing up during the following season. And I try to do that with this channel too. I try to make sure I'm covering as much as possible, but there's a lot of players. The one thing that I do kind of hedge on a little bit is when a player's coming over from the KHL, I know that the results don't necessarily end up as strong as a fan might hope. So you see a guy coming over, you're like, he's going to be our third line center, he's going to score 20 goals. And then maybe he scores 10, ends up in the AHL, and it just doesn't work. So I do have like this sort of buyer beware if you're going to fantasy draft somebody out of the KHL. Because again, it's North American hockey. It's a change of culture as well. I've mentioned in recent videos, I think that's underrated. But The upcoming trip, so from August 10th to 13th, we're in Vegas. We're pretty solidly booked for that time in Vegas as well. And then Anaheim, we fly in on the 13th early because Haunted Mansion closes on the 14th, so we had to get there and get into the park on the 13th so that my wife and I could ride the Haunted Mansion ride, which I've never ridden. Both times I've gone, it's been closed. So that's something I haven't done. So we're doing Disney, and then we have a day off during the middle of that week where I'll be at Honda Center. Now, I've already recorded, by my count last time I looked, 34 different videos to post to the channel while I'm on holiday. Yeah. So the collection videos for the jerseys will be going live. I've done rankings of defensemen, goalies, forwards, and I know people aren't going to agree with them, but I enjoy doing ranking videos, so it's okay. And again, it's a matter of just, it's a difference of opinion, right? If we all had the same opinion, there wouldn't be much point in having any debates, because then it's not a debate, it's just an agreement. And last time I checked in sports, those generally don't happen. So the plan is to do that vacation, and then when we come back, I'll get the season preview started, and I'll finish up the collection videos. 2 go live each day, so basically I've split it up to each team. The monster of it is, of course, Vancouver. The Vancouver Canucks collection video, that one ended up being about 17 minutes because there's so many Canucks jerseys that I have in my collection. But I think that'll be good. I didn't end up doing the full countdown because just looking at it, just the breadth of it, just how many jerseys that I'd have to rank, and I was like, I don't know how I'm going to rank all these. So I ended up not necessarily chickening out, but forcing myself to narrow it down to 101. It was originally 100, but I had to make it 101 because there was a jersey I had to get onto that countdown. And maybe next summer, maybe between now and next summer, I'll have a way to spread it out a little bit more. We do go on vacation when we can, because during the season, my wife and I don't see each other very much at this stage, because I'm usually watching games like every single night. I watch every single game that I can. I'm going to allow myself a little bit of a break from that this year. I'm going to try to have like date nights and stuff, because it does at some time. At some points I get burnt out. And then there's the nights where there's 8 or 10 games on. Those recap or review videos get tons of views and a lot of engagement. But when there's only one game on, very often it doesn't get engagement. It doesn't get a lot of attention. And it doesn't really matter which teams they are, especially if it's October or November. So I don't feel like if I say, well, there's just the one game tonight, I think I'll go out and see a movie, or maybe I'll go out to dinner. I don't think that's a big deal. So I'm going to be doing that this year. And we're going to 4 different Canuck games this year. I'm kind of excited about that too. I'm saying kind of because we went to 3 last season, so it's just the one extra game. And so I'm kind of hopeful with that. But it is a lot of videos that are going to be going live. One thing is, I used to record videos when we were on vacation, but obviously the sound quality in a hotel room isn't going to be the same as it is on my set. The value of the production is also hurt because I can't use a big board because I don't have that kind of space and everything. And so it's better for me to pre-record them here, upload them, they go live. Just make sure that they're videos that aren't news videos, because those might age badly, right? If I made up a news video, it would have to be news from the future, which I have not done one yet, because the last time I did a news from the future, which is, alternate darkest timeline, it did okay, but I always feel like when I do videos like that, it's better if it's a one-off and if I don't make a series out of it. Because when you make a series out of it, you kind of take the rewatchability of the first one away too. So I've learned over the years, I've learned as a YouTuber, that evergreen content isn't necessarily a thing either. It's a terminology here with YouTubers. Again, I don't hear it as much now as I used to. The idea being, you can post a video to your channel and it will stay fresh. It'll be a video people can watch. So like, for instance, some of the history stuff that I was doing years back, I really have not seen, when I look at the watch time for those videos or for those playlists from years back, I really don't see much there. So I have not been doing as much of the historical stuff this summer as I normally do, and that is by design. That's basically me saying these ones don't really, for the amount of time I put into those videos, the watch time, the views just don't end up being there. So at any rate, I'm excited about the rest of this summer, and I'm kind of excited about the regular season as well, and seeing how things turn out. And I will be doing more of the redraft videos as well. There will be one posting while we're on vacation, as a for instance. I tried to make sure there's one video each day that people are gonna, really want to tune into, and so I got my fingers crossed on that. One sad part is that living in Abbotsford, the Abbotsford Air Show's this weekend. We miss it almost every year. We miss it almost every year, and it's too bad because I could probably do some really fun videos for the Entertainment Guy channel, but we miss it, and I'm okay with that because we have a pretty good vacation. But it is kind of on some level too bad. So anyways, I just wanted to do a quick little video. And for me, quick is 20 minutes, 20 and a half minutes. Now you guys see how I fill the show as a DJ. Not all music either, but at any rate, I'm really, really grateful for all of the views the channel has, for all the subscribers. The channel passing 287,000 subscribers this week. Absolutely great, and it's on some level really intimidating. It really is. Like it's odd. So like we're gonna go to California, we're gonna go to Nevada, and I know while we're there, people will know who I am. So that's really odd to me because for over 40 years, nobody would have cared. It really wouldn't have been a thing. So it is an adjustment, and it's an adjustment that I don't think I'll ever be comfortable with, which is good because I think the most important thing that I can do as a YouTuber is stay as humble as possible and enjoy the ride. So it does feel like life is completely different than what it was, and I think it's changed for the better, and it is strange. So because I get that, does it feel weird for people to ask for selfies and approach the public? Well, yeah, but to my knowledge, I've never turned down a selfie. I'm pretty sure I never have. And I enjoy doing that. I even had kind of a nerdular moment of my own the other day where I left a comment on a channel that I've followed since, man, it's been years. And that YouTuber actually answered me, and I was kind of like, wow, that's really cool. They answered me. So, like it was kind of like, fun. And actually said that they've watched a video of mine as well. And I'm like, that is really weird that they've watched a video I made. That's really cool. So anyways, those moments still take place, and yeah, I will say too that if I ever had a chance to meet Cam Neely, Trevor Linden, some of the players that I grew up loving and thinking were fantastic, I would absolutely be starstruck if I had actually met them in person. So, and the idea that any of them have ever watched any video I've produced is just too weird for me to even process up here. So I don't really think about it. But anyways, there you go. Thank you guys so much for all your support as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And I also want to thank the Discord for giving me some ideas for videos that I can put up while we're on holiday. You will see a couple of those suggestions followed through on, and videos going live on the channel between the 10th and the 19th. Because I also understand, and I'll close with this, there are people who watch my videos every day. It is part of their routine. It is part of their everyday. They might be going through a lot. They might be, feeling down about whatever it is, whatever part of life has let them down. And so I appreciate that I'm part of that daily routine, and that's why I don't take days off. That's why you say, oh, I just won't post videos. I can afford not to post videos on certain days. It really wouldn't hurt me, but I know there are people who are counting on those videos, and I think it's important that I acknowledge that because I've been through that. There have been times in my life where, TV shows, YouTubers help me keep that idea that life's normal right now. It doesn't feel normal out there right now, but at least when I come home, I can watch videos, I can watch my TV shows, and that still feels normal. So I understand that feeling, and I appreciate it that people feel I'm part of their daily routine at this point, and so I take that very seriously. Thank you guys for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.